So your loved one has watched you watch King and Queen Cichlids videos for over a year, and how excited you get whenever you see some of my large American cichlids. Petco and PetSmart runs a dollar sale, and for Christmas you wake up and find a gorgeous 55-gallon tank sitting under your Christmas tree. What's up guys, my name is Scott from King and Queen Cichlids, and today I'm going to give you my top 5 suggestions of American cichlids you can use and put in your new 55-gallon tank. Happy holidays guys, come on!
What's up my jaguars? My jaguars. Want something to eat?
Guys, I literally remember it like it was yesterday. The year was 1982. Thriller album was out, just come out, and it was huge on MTV. And I think it was the Atari 5200, the new video game system was just out, and that was huge too. That's all anyone wanted for Christmas was the Thriller album and the Atari game set. Me, being the stranger that I am, I wanted a 55-gallon tank. That's all I wanted, that's all I asked my parents for. Please, Dad, please, give me a 55-gallon tank. I saw one at my local fish store, I believe it was called Aquaman. I think that's right. Guys in North Carolina, let me know if I said that right. I think it was Aquaman. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was a big store back in the 80s, back then. And I told my dad, please, I don't want Atari, I don't want a Thriller, I don't want any of that. I want a 55-gallon tank. At the time, I think I had like a 10 or 20-gallon tank that had like a, what was it called, the Rainbow Shark. That's basically how I started. But I wanted a 55 because I wanted to upgrade to fish that my father and I were actually catching in the wild, such as sunfish, brim, smallmouth bass, all the stuff that I would say, Dad, can I take it home? He would say, no son, throw it back. So I wanted a bigger tank so I could at least get a fish that would be bigger in my fish room. Christmas morning, 1982, I woke downstairs to a tank, a 55-gallon tank. My parents did it, Santa Claus, whoever, the angels above. I got my first 55-gallon tank and I was ecstatic. The next week I rushed down after quarantining my tank, getting it up and running. I ran down to Aquaman and I got what was called the Green Terra. The Green Terra. Now, I don't even think that I was overly impressed with how it looked or what it was, but the name Green Terra just attracted me to it. I knew it was aggressive and that's what I had to have. So I picked that fish up and the rest has been history. I have been a huge keeper, fan, lover of American cichlids ever since, and I will continue to be. So today, you got what looks like that under your Christmas tree. And today we're going to talk about the 5 different American cichlids I would suggest you keep long term that are going to do well in a 55-gallon tank. So let's go. Come on. Now, let me go ahead and give you the bad news. The bad news is that most of the fish cichlids I keep, American cichlids I keep, are 2 specific species. The Amphilophus, such as this chancho here. Want to eat, boy? Huh? There you go. Good boy. Or the Parachromis, such as the humongous dova I have behind this tank, behind this camera right now. Those 2 species, unfortunately, I will not be suggesting can go in a 55-gallon tank. These guys just get too big and they're not going to last very long in a 55-gallon tank. Could they be a starter for a small fish that you're growing out? Absolutely, it could be a start tank for an Amphilophus or a Parachromis that you're going to grow out. But make sure that you are prepared for the size and the attitude that these fish are going to get if you decide to start with a suggestion Midas, Red Devil, Jaguar cichlid, or Dovai cichlid in a 55-gallon tank. It's not going to take long for them to outgrow that tank, and you're going to need a larger tank such as a 150-gallon tank like this one really soon. As you can see, this is just the way I do it. I keep large species by themselves, especially males. I wouldn't mind, I mean, if I had a female, I would definitely have a female in here with this big guy. But I keep large tanks and I keep pairs. I don't have a lot of other fish in the tank. That's just the way I do my hobby. So, sorry guys, no Midas, no Red Devils, no Jaguars, no Red Tiger Motos, none of those fish I'm going to be suggesting for your 55 gallon today. But let me show you why. Come on. So here is my really fun example I will be showing you today of why it's important to purchase the suggestions that I'm speaking of. This is a 12 to 13 inch pleco. This is a 2 foot long pleco. And this is your standard 55 gallon tank in our kitchen. I snuck it in here thinking that I would have to move it, but Liz hadn't said anything bad about this tank being here, so before long I'm gonna put some water in it. It's a great place to have a tank, and I absolutely love it. So if she's not yelling at me by tomorrow, water's going in here and a new fish will be here. Video to come for that. Anyway, back to our story. 12 inch, it's 12, 13 inches, 2 foot long. Let's put this guy in the tank. Your fish will need to be able to move around. One of the criteria or things that we say, your fish should be able to turn around in the tank without touching either side of the tank by its nose or by its tail. It should be able to freely swim around and not touch any sides. And as you can see, this guy is not really touching the sides. Plenty of room. And again, I'm going to be suggesting male American cichlids by themselves in the 55. The 2 footer, big boy. And this is close. This is just a little bit longer than the Amphilophus chancho that you just saw, and this is really about the size of my Dovi. So as you can see, although it fits, it is definitely not big enough. I mean, the guy can't even turn around, and that's a huge no-no in the fish world. You want the fish to be able to move around, and this tank simply isn't big enough for this 2 foot. It's probably a little larger than 2 foot, but it's about a 2 foot long fish. Got it? All right, guys, so I hope that's a good example of why I would not suggest
What are you doing?
those species.
What are you doing?
Hey, honey.
Hi.
It's good to see you.
Huh.
This is the female version of Hugh Hefner. I go home and work.
I stay at home and play with the dogs all day.
Yeah, and she walks around in her little robe and tells me what to do all the time. Anyway, honey, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not putting any water in this or anything like that. Just using this as an example because people get tanks at Christmas time, especially with the Petco dollar sale. And I know a lot of people that follow us want American cichlids, but they can't really afford it. You know, they don't have the room for a large tank, or they can't afford a large tank. So 55 gallon, $55 from Petco is not a bad deal. Okay. So I'm talking about the top 5 American cichlids I think that will fit suitably or work well suitably in a 55 gallon tank. Now that you're here, what's your thoughts?
What about angelfish or severums?
Angelfish, I don't think people really watch my channel to watch fish that are angelfish, I just think they're boring. Severums, now that's a good, you got a really nice pair of red severums. Let's go take a look at that. Let's start with number 5, severums. Okay. I think that's a really good thing. So you go back to bed. Love you.
I love you.
Promise you, this tank will be gone by the time you wake up in the morning.
It better be.
And love you much. So this is Liz's 100 gallon cube tank with lots of different South American cichlids. As she suggested, the angels would be a good choice, possibly. The severums, definitely. These red severums right here. Beautiful fish. Pair of them will do great in a 55 gallon tank. They do have a lot of personality, and you get to see some really cool breeding from these guys. Alright guys, we are back. Liz is back in bed. I'm going to quickly go over my list of the top 5 American cichlids I think will do well in a 55 gallon tank. Now she said severum. Severum wasn't really on my list, but it is a good choice. Definitely check out severums. A single pair in a 55 gallon tank will probably do really well, in all honesty. But my first and obvious choice, my pick number 5, is the convict cichlid. Convict cichlids get to about 6, maybe 7 inches for the males, a little smaller for the females. A pair in a 55 gallon tank will last a lifetime. They will also generate a lot of fry. You will produce your own colony in the 55-gallon tank. The old joke in the hobby world is that you could put convict cichlids in a toilet and they would breed there. So they're very hardy. They can accept a lot of different water parameters, and because of this, I suggest them as one of the first fish you should consider starting up a 55-gallon tank. Convict cichlids. Now, my number 4 fish is going to be the firemouth. Now we're talking about a similar size fish like the convict cichlid that has a little more aggression, a little more personality than the convict cichlid. But I mean, even the convict cichlid has a little personality, a little aggression. With the firemouth, you're gonna know when he's mad, and some of the best firemouths I've ever seen are the ones that will just flare out their red gills. It's really impressive. They'll display. These are absolutely fascinating fish. I've kept them before. I don't keep them now, but I highly recommend the Therichtes meekii, or better known as the firemouth, for your 55-gallon tank. Again, a pair will do really well. Lifetime in a 55-gallon tank. Just a spectacular fish that I think you guys, especially guys who like a little aggression, will love these fish. My number 3 pick is going to be the Jack Dempsey. The Jack Dempsey is one of, right up there with the Oscars, one of the most unappreciated fish in the hobby. Beautiful, beautiful fish with blues and oranges and lots of pearling. Again, a very hardy fish that'll accept a lot of different water conditions. A pair would be great in a 55-gallon as well. And they're not going to get maxed. They're probably going to max out around anywhere from 8 to 9 inches. It's interesting, I'd say maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, the electric blue Jack Dempsey was the talk of the hobby. Everybody wanted one. Everybody loved them. They weren't hybrids. They're line bred. The blue ones are really a spectacular looking fish, but I absolutely love the natural Jack Dempseys. So that's my number 3 pick, the Jack Dempsey fish. Gotta get one. They're beautiful. Probably out of all the fish on this list, I think the Jack Dempsey is the most attractive looking one. My number 2 pick, I talked about it when I got my first 55-gallon tank. How could I leave them out? The green Terra, the Rivellatus. Definitely a cichlid that I would recommend in a 55-gallon tank. Truly, I would probably recommend a 75-gallon tank for it, but I could see them now living comfortably in a 55-gallon tank. They get to about 12 to 13 inches. I have seen some that get bigger than that, but for the most part, they get to around 12 to 13 inches. Beautiful fish, just like the Jack Dempseys. These guys have pearling, they have green, they have oranges in them as well. Lots of attitude. This is like the next step up to you getting the Amphilophus or the Parachromis family. The green Terra is definitely a good beginner, bigger American cichlid that you're going to be able to keep in your 55-gallon tank. The green Terra is readily available at like Petco, PetSmart. As I always do, I would suggest you go to a reputable place such as Tangle Up and Cichlids, who actually have some great green terrors in stock. There are 2 different breeds of the green terrors, and Kevin actually has both of them available right now for shipment. So definitely check out Tangle Up and Cichlids for actually all these choices. All the fish I'm talking about, you're going to be able to find on the Tangle Up and Cichlids stock list. So definitely check Kevin out. Tell him I sent you. My last fish is probably going to be controversial, but I feel very strongly that a pair will work well in a 55-gallon tank, and that is the Gromota. Now, if you've never seen or heard of the Gromota is like a mini doveye. It gets about 8 to 10 inches. Has every bit of the aggression and style of a doveye. It really does. It is the best choice for someone who can't get a large 150, 220, 300-gallon tank and wants to keep a doveye. For someone who can't get that tank, the alternative definitely is the Gromota. Now I'm going to show you some shots from my friend Justin, who lives in Baltimore. He has a spectacular group of Gramotas, as does my friend Joe Burke, and I've kept them before. Not as successful as I'd like to. I've always tried to keep them with different things. To keep Gramotas the best, keep them by themselves. Get them pair, put them in a 55, sit back and enjoy the fun, because these are spectacular fish that, again, have all the tendencies, all the aggression, all the personality of a true Parachromis dovi. You will not be disappointed, and again, Gramotas are available at Tangled Up in Cichlids as we speak. So definitely check out my friend Kevin at Tangled Up in Cichlids and get yourself some Gramotas, some Green Terrors, some Jack Dempseys, some Firemouths, or some convex cichlids. And speaking of convicts, definitely check out my boy Aquafunk. He just put out a video about the blue-eyed convex cichlid. Really good information. Gives you an opportunity to see some very cool looking convicts. I think people think that convex cichlids just come in one black and white color, but there's a lot of really cool variations of the convex cichlid. Definitely get them. Alright guys, so that is it for our top 5 American cichlids that will do well in a 55-gallon tank. What do you think? Good choices?
Awesome.
Alright guys, thank you so much for viewing. We want to wish each and every one of you guys, what?
A very Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Happy holidays. Stay safe, stay positive, and stay absolutely fishy.